Okay, hey everyone. Welcome to Addictive Personalities. My name is Bethany. I am your host, and I am killing two birds with one stone today because not only is this the debut of a guest on my podcast, but it is also my visual debut, which I thought I wasn't ready to do. But I have one of my best friends here with me, and so I just thought, who better to show the world what I look like than with my best friend, Karen. So, just a quick warning, this content, especially in this episode, will potentially be triggering. So, I would recommend that if you're early in your sobriety and talking about drug use is sensitive for you, I would not watch or listen to this podcast because this episode specifically is going to start with some reminiscing. And there's going to be a lot of talk about drug use, drinking, potentially traumatizing situations or scenarios. So just a quick little warning there. But yeah, so this is it. I guess this is it. I guess we've ripped the band-aid off. How do you feel? You look beautiful.
So do you. I feel great. Happy to be here.
Right? Now what? No, I'm just kidding.
There's going to be a lot of this, guys. I'm sorry in advance.
Well, no, I don't think so. It is weird having headphones on because I'm used to having that
Yeah,
little handheld mic. Um,
right.
Karen, I love you.
I love you.
And we've known each other since we were both 15. But yeah, so we've had many conversations so far, and I think now we have a plan. Why don't you tell me how you remember when we met? How about we start there?
All right. So we're 15. Uh, Upland High School is where I went.
I was not at Upland
And
High School at that point. I think I was either dropped out or I was at Hillside for
yeah, I believe
for
so. It was
the
like our
fuck ups.
sophomore year, probably, maybe junior. No, it's maybe junior year. In any case, there was a coffee shop across the street. So it was like the place for like the shady kids and the gothic kids and the,
Punk rock kids.
cigarette smoker, punk rocker kids to hang
That's
out
me.
after school and before school. And so I had started kind of flirting with a boy that worked there, a man actually.
He was a full ass man.
I think he was 19 years old. And so
That he
I
was only
met
19.
Bethany. I believe so.
Okay.
Maybe he was 21.
He was
He was
big.
a
He
man.
was a big man.
He was a big man. So I had been talking to him, and then he had this gray truck. I can see it in my brain. And he pulled up, and here is this bright blonde girl with these piercing blue eyes just staring at me out the window with this, like, who the fuck are you kind of gaze. And that was when I first met Bethany. And so he was kind of, just like, who are you? And he
I was
introduced us and
sussing you
whatever.
out.
And
I was basically
yeah,
I was doing the whole like,
exactly. Who
hmm
is this chick? What are her intentions? What's she gonna do for me or take away from me?
possible. I,
And so anyway, so then I feel like that was kind of the last time that I saw you for a while, or maybe we saw each other at the coffee shop because then
we
me and
always used to
Mike
hang
dated.
out at a wall.
Oh, the smoking wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would smoke cigarettes at this wall across the street from the school. And so me and him dated for a while, and I ran away with him and all this crazy shit like that. He was an ex-con, and so we had the cops after us, and he was like, "You're gonna send me to prison," and all this type stuff going on. So in any case, after that whole thing blew up, then I ran into you again across the street from Upland High at the wall, and you were just kind of like, yeah, fuck that guy. And I was like, yeah, fuck that guy. And that kind of became the basis from which we started talking and hanging out, and things started proceeding into the direction of a friendship. So
Yeah.
that's what I remember. How do you remember it?
I don't. I just remember I remember bits and pieces, so my memory is really like I things start to get real confusing as far as time
Yes, I get
goes. So
it.
sometimes I say like, oh yeah, I was 15, but like when I think about the years, I'm like, wait, I couldn't have been 15. So like things are
Right.
really, really hard to remember. And just because for me, every day was like a whole thing. Like every
Yeah.
day was like a
There was so
whole
much that
ass,
happened.
yes. I mean, I was just like everywhere with everyone. Um,
Literally.
yeah, quite literally. And I was just doing everything that I could to not be at home
Right.
because at that point, my mom was married to my stepdad
Right.
and things were not great. And I had a lot of angst because I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad. And I think I hadn't moved to Chicago yet, right? At
Right.
15, because I've moved to Chicago 4 times. So one of them was when
Right.
I was a sophomore. So either I did,
Okay. So maybe you had just come back from that then. It's possible. Because I feel like you had lived there once before we met. And then
I
because the
did.
next time we were like 18.
So I lived there. I moved to Chicago when I was 12. I moved to Chicago when I was 15, but it was only for a few months. Did I ever tell you stories about the all girls Catholic school that I went to?
Yes.
Then I had already come back
Okay.
for the second time.
The
So,
second time.
yes, and I was ready and raring to do drugs. So, I think most of what I remember is just wanting to be at your house and wanting to be
Hmm.
away from my house. You had a car. I was always seeking out some kind of adventure, and we
Right.
both liked punk rock. So we bonded
Yes.
over the Descendants. We bonded over Lagwagon. We bonded over
Me
just
first in the gimme
Me
gimmies.
First and the Gimme Gimmes. No Effects.
No facts.
Bad Religion.
Okay.
Hello.
Bad Religion is
Oh,
my
oh,
favorite
mine
still. Greg
too.
Graffin is
He's a hottie.
the love of my life, and don't tell his wife. But
Well,
I've seen him more than any other band. I was supposed to see him the last time they were on tour, and then they had to cancel the whole tour. So
yeah, so they come to the
it's a
Union
bummer.
out here in Salt Lake a lot, and so I didn't go to a lot of shows when I was younger because I was running the streets on drugs, doing adult
Right.
shit. So
It's
I
hard
didn't,
to have the money and the time to go to a concert when you're trying to survive.
well, yeah, but I did go to raves.
Yeah.
But anyways, um, so anyway, we bonded over punk rock.
And
Also,
driving. I liked to just
we'd
drive
like to
around
drive
and
around with
do
our windows
bullshit,
open and the music a blasting.
which I still like.
Me too. Um, my music taste has changed a little bit. I've become a
Me too.
little
Me too.
older and
Yes.
more like feely goody and all that jazz. But
You
anyways,
can't be all angsty for quite this many years.
then I remember we just started doing drugs. And then you had brought up how we were originally going to get some acid.
Yeah,
And
so that
then
was my memory was that me and my friends were looking for hallucinogenics of some sort, microdots, I believe they were.
it was
Was that acid
it
or
was acid. It was tabs. We were looking for.
ecstasy? It was little acid tabs, yeah.
Mhm.
So we were looking for those, and I think our plug fell through.
Hold on. So in the same description, you say hallucinogens, and then you say plug.
I know. I'm like really old and a teenager at the same time. I have teenage kids. This
Yeah,
is what
no, I know.
happens.
Okay, go on.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
I was going to say, like, it sounds weird to say plug because that was definitely not what we called it then. So I don't know. What did we call them? Hookup. They were our hookup.
That's
Yo.
true.
Anyway,
No, you're right.
so
But
we,
yeah, it was
our hookup
LSD.
fell through. And so here comes Bethany and she's like, you want to go get some dope? So we started on that mission. And I think we went to one or two places before the rest of my friends were like, yeah, I'm out. This is not what we want to do. We don't want to be on this mission for dope tonight. So peace out, drop us off. And so then me and Bethany continued and eventually found our hookup, and the rest is history,
Yeah, I remember
more or
saying, I
less.
remember going over to your house and playing, the goody good friend. And like, I never shied away from talking to your parents.
Mm-mm.
Like, I was never really afraid. I felt like almost like I was just testing how good I could be with faking
Right.
that I wasn't on drugs.
Well, what's funny is you remember coming to my house a lot, and I remember more being at your house. I don't remember you being at my house a lot. So it's kind of
That's
funny how
weird.
we both remember totally different things. I'm like, I don't ever remember you being in my house.
Dude, I remember looking for shards of meth on your floor.
Yeah, that sounds right. Like, I remember those things too. I just didn't remember that you were there. Apparently, I was just in my own fucking place on
Dude,
my own
I
mission trip.
remember spending the night at your house and I remember listening to music and I remember going around and I there are only certain things that I remember like the Long Beach scenario, the San Dimas scenario where I went to go meet that guy. But like
You were
yeah,
constantly borrowing my car for like these missions, and you'd be like half an hour tops, and then you would disappear for like an hour and a
I took your
half, and you'd be
car.
calling me. Yeah. And you'd be calling me, and you'd be like, oh, just a little bit longer. It was way
At least I called
further than
you.
I thought. I remember somebody in Victorville that you were going to see, and it ended up being way further.
Okay,
And I
yeah.
feel like it ended up being in Yuma or
No, in
something,
Silver
way
Lake.
further than
So it
Victorville.
was in Silverwood. Okay, I just talked about the story. Thing
Okay.
is I met this guy online and then you dropped me off there
Okay.
and then I got stuck there and then he was drinking and then he was like passing out and I was like, I don't, he was also being very pervy. And I was like,
Right.
I'm not cool with this. And so he was trying to get me to stay there and I was like, no, bro, I'm going to take your truck.
Yes.
I'd never driven on the freeway before and I had to drive his F-350 with him in the passenger seat.
It's a big ass truck.
Right. Never driven on the freeway before. Now, let it be known that I did know how to drive and I stole my mom's car and she already knows about this. So, but then just big for a long distance because Silverwood is
Yeah.
far away. He,
Right.
um, so I was mad at him and he was like passed out and I slammed my foot on the brake and his head went boom on the dashboard. Remember
Mm,
that? Do you remember me
you
telling you about that?
do.
So yeah,
Hmm.
and then I just left him. I was like, yeah, thanks. I told you I was gonna get home. Bye. So, yeah, and then later on, he ended up calling my house and telling me that he was on house arrest because he like killed someone.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
it's probably a good thing you left.
I think I told you about that, how he called and
Maybe.
it was really creepy. I was like,
Again, I don't remember everything either.
yeah, he was trying to apologize to me, but in a backhanded way, like basically like
Right.
it was almost like he was trying to say how good he was. Um,
Right.
but like at the same time, he was being tried for murder. So I was like, please don't call me again. And then that was the end of that. But yeah, that's what happens when you meet people online. And that was a long time ago. So imagine we all know how now.
Right.
It's like,
No.
yeah. And
I don't
then
know that it was any less scary back then. It was just less like we were some of the only ones that were doing it.
I was
I just
meeting a
think it
lot of
wasn't
people
as
online.
widespread. Yeah, I remember you were meeting people online and I was like, you're nuts. Like nobody does this. What are you doing? And like now it's like everybody does it. But
I was meeting
and then there was
strangers
those guys
online.
in Long Beach, which my memory of that night is very blurred. Like I remember it being a big deal and I remember it being really scary and I kind of remember like
Do you remember? Okay, let me tell you what happened. I think that you were here during this. So there was this lady, and she was older, and she was dressing very young, and her and the main guy of the trailer, because this was in the ghetto of Long Beach, Atlantic and
right.
Artesia, and it was in a trailer, and there were kids there. And
Hmm.
because there were two incidences that happened there, and one was her son showed up. So were you there when
Hmm.
the gangbangers were there?
Yes.
Okay. So that was crazy. And then were you also there when the raid happened, or was that a different time?
That was a different time.
Okay, that was one of the times that God made me invisible. But anyways, there were two brothers that lived there, and they were like, yep, yep, yep. The reason why we were there was because the guy that I had met online had good dope, and people in Long Beach had crank. It was not good
Right.
dope. So
Right.
to the people in Long Beach, they were like, oh, this guy's God, whatever.
Right.
So he was very psycho with me a little bit, and I remember he would get such bad cotton mouth that his voice and like his like was in his throat and like these weird things that I remember. But anyways, so this lady's son, whose nickname was Danger, just came out of prison and showed up and basically took over the entire trailer with a gun,
Right.
looking for
Right.
his mom. And basically him and his cronies hung out there. I had a notebook because I was a writer, and we were both underage. So,
Yeah.
but they didn't know that.
Right.
And they were looking at me in my notebook thinking that I was a cop because
Mm,
at this point, these people are not sleeping. They're tripping
right.
they're tripping on other people's trips and nothing's real.
Right.
And so they were
Right.
really getting scary. I just remember this memory of them sitting on a table and it's all
Mhm.
dark.
Yeah.
And I remember them staring at us and like, oh shit, we need to get out of here. And the only other people that I knew in Long Beach were these skinheads
Mhm.
living on 10th and Cherry. That guy in Silverwood was the young recruit.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
he was the recruit, and so he was like 19. He was like really young, and they came and
Right.
saved us, gave us food.
Right.
They were horsing around. One of them was like behind the other one, and I called them gay.
Mm,
And this guy was
that's not
like,
good.
right, it's not good. You don't, there's several things that you don't call these guys, and I basically called them
Mhm.
all of it, especially after they tried kicking us out.
Right.
And then, do you remember we were waiting across the street? I remember a
Because we were in the fucking hood. Like, I cannot
hood.
stress enough how much scarier the hood in Long Beach is than the hood in Upland
There is no
and
hood in
even
Upland.
Pomona. But like,
Yeah.
it was a whole different level
But I wasn't even
that we
scared. I was
at
pissed
least
off. Like we were
see.
brawling. Me and this dude.
Yeah.
Did I spit
Right.
on him or did he spit on me? I don't remember.
I just remember everyone was really upset.
So we were basically stranded. I think we had a backpack and that was it. And yeah, we tussled and nothing really scared me. I think that um I mean, yeah, I don't know why. I just had like no fear. I was just
Yeah, you really didn't.
somebody was gonna get in my face.
I was much less fearless than you were. Like I was like, what is happening?
I
Get
didn't
the
care if
fuck
he
out
was
of
gonna
here
try
now.
and kill me.
Yeah. No, you
In fact,
didn't.
I might have encouraged him to do something like that
Right.
out of because I'm insane. But anyways,
Right.
so then so that was pretty traumatizing. And then I ended up going back there and then that's when the raid happened and it was
Right. And I was gonna say I did not go back there. I learned
I
my
did.
lesson the first time. You did
Yeah.
not.
I did not know. So then I remember I don't know how many of my friends you met or like what groups we
I
hung out
met
with.
so many of your friends, like random people. I mean, I feel like we didn't do drugs at the same place more than once usually. Like there was one guy that you stayed with for a while. I remember going over there several times, but obviously like you were staying there.
I remember my mom my mom loved these people too. I mean like,
Yeah,
I mean, is that normal? No, because a lot of these guys were twice my age and
right.
doing drugs with me.
I remember some
So,
good ones from the journey that I hope got clean and I hope that they are doing better for themselves and some of them I'm sure didn't. Some of them I'm sure are probably dead. Some of them are in jail because that's pretty
mhm,
much where if you continue to use that's going to land you one of those places. And
ever.
it's at some point during that I quit for one of the times when I quit and stopped going over there because I was like, I just can't. I saw myself going down a dark path and my car got towed. I don't know if it was his apartment. I feel like there was another apartment near there that we were hanging out and my car got towed. I was dropping you off. I was there for like 5 minutes and my fucking car got towed. Oh my gosh. And it's like, how do I explain to my parents why my car got towed in a place that I wasn't supposed to be?
Right.
It's always a
Oh,
fun time.
it's kind of coming. It's crazy, like how many things
Well, and then I think they got
comes
raided
back.
like the next day, and I was just like, man, I'm really glad that my car got towed and I didn't want to go back there ever again. So I didn't want
Yeah,
to get
I
towed.
actually. Do you remember Circle K and the people there,
I
the
mean,
people that
yeah.
work there?
Hmm.
I brought Chucky, that guy, around there,
Hmm.
and we all went to this motel room, and he had the audacity. We were in a fight, and he had the audacity to tell me something like, because I had hooked him up with one of my friends or something. It was weird, but the manager at the Circle K was with us because he was into the drugs. He's long gone, but we went to Motel 6. There was this one kid who had a sports car and he was going to the military or had already gone to the military and he had a crush on me And I remember I had a pager, and I had the guy Chucky, which I don't care about saying his name because Chucky, like, whatever. Anyways, he said something like, "Oh yeah, it's no wonder your dad doesn't talk to you or something." And I was like, "What? Say that again, motherfucker!" I like got up in his face, and I think I hit him. And then I took my trash bags of stuff, and I walked out of that place, and I got a page from this guy. He picked me up. This guy out of nowhere. Hadn't talked to him in a year or two.
Right.
About 20 minutes later, the motel was raided. Had I been
Mm,
there, everybody would have gotten an extra charge for contributing to delinquency of a minor because I was still a minor.
right.
They were all adults. And so it's like things like that. Because I
Yes.
had to use, we back in the day, we had to use pay phones.
Right.
When we got a page,
That's why I'm like,
we
oh,
got a
the
beeper.
pagers. They don't even have payphones up anymore. Like it's a wild
Mm-mm,
time. Kids
mm-mm.
don't even know.
So I think that through all of these things could have been so different. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like it was almost like God put into me a compass, and like when things were off just a little bit, I was out of there.
Yeah,
Like
you
I
were.
didn't give a fuck.
I often did
And
not
I did
even understand. You would flip shit and be like, we gotta fucking get out of here right now because the energy was off and I didn't even pick up on it. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I learned to
and
just
that was
follow your lead.
and yeah, so I'm glad that we didn't, like, yes, of course I had my path. I ended up moving, around a lot. I was homeless for a little while when I was 15. I was staying in motels. Um, I was just I'm glad that you had a different path and that you had a stable home and,
Yes.
but I think we did always gravitate back to each other. Like we always kind of kept in touch or whatever, but your drug of choice,
Right.
it was alcohol. So I didn't really know that about you. I think at the time, like I was so wrapped up in myself and
Right.
just getting high and wanting everybody to be high with me and just like talk all night long and just
And
like
I mean,
go.
to be honest, it was just anything that would numb me out, that would make me forget, that would, I just like getting high. Like I didn't really care, but definitely alcohol was kind of easier to get people to do with me. It was less, taboo and shit like that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, alcohol definitely became my drug of choice, whether or not it was initially, because I think initially I just wanted to get fucked up. I didn't really care how.
Yeah, and I remember smoking a lot of weed and I remember drinking, but I don't remember actually drinking all that much when I was like deep in my addiction. Because when I started using it, it was at 12 and I was just doing lines and it was just recreationally and it would just be like binging like over the weekend and in my room I'd write poetry about corn,
I would draw
whatever.
these
And
insane pictures that like I was obviously on drugs and I would do it at school. And I'm like, people were just like knew I was on drugs and I just was oblivious. But I did.
well,
I
I
liked
got
how
labeled.
meth made me focus. I liked how it made me like organize. I would like organize my room and I'd fucking write and draw and I liked how it did
Yeah,
that.
it brought out the creative in me and made me like way more like philosophical and spiritual, I think,
Right.
if that's even possible. But it did open up a lot of avenues for demonic activity.
Yes. Yeah.
And my house was haunted at that time. My house literally had a demon, and my whole family will attest to that. And I don't know if you experienced that at my house on Alta Avenue.
I remember you talking about it a lot. I don't remember if I actually experienced it or not, but
Which room was I in when you stayed at my house? The one facing the driveway or the one facing the backyard?
the one facing the driveway. I think in
So I had
both at
switched.
different times, but I remember at
Yeah.
first when we first started hanging out it was the one facing the driveway. Remember when I
And I
cracked my head
remember,
open on your driveway?
yes.
I like jumped into my boyfriend's arms and just like pulled him back and cracked my fucking head open.
Yeah, those were fun times, honestly. Like I'm almost glad that I spent my teenage years doing all that when the dope was good. The internet was not as dangerous.
Hmm.
I was fearless, and I just got to meet a ton of people. And like, I feel like my decline of wanting to use started when I honestly believe that house had something to do with how much I wanted to be away from it, but
Right.
also how much I got into drugs.
Right.
It was after I moved into that house that I even met Monique, and like it all started with that house.
Right.
Anyway, I called my dad, like my mom will tell you, I like ran out. I was like, something doesn't want me to leave this house. Something doesn't want me to leave this house. And I called my dad and I was just like, he's like, yeah, come. And so, yeah, I was gone. I went to Chicago and I stayed out in Chicago from 2001 to 2005 and then came back again and then thought I loved this guy.
Yes, I remember that
He was one of
clearly.
the friends. He was one of the
Yeah.
friends of
Of
all the rest of the
Jim.
people that we were talking about, Dave and
Dave.
Matt Fu.
Was
Yes.
Dave the guy's house that I busted my car in his driveway on a rock? Do you remember that? I remember I was driving you to somebody's house and it was like this crazy rocky driveway and I ended up puncturing something on the bottom of my fucking car driving up the
I think that was
driveway.
Jim's house.
Maybe.
Yeah. Jim was
Jim
obviously
was
already in his 40s or
40s or
50s,
50s, yeah.
maybe
I think he was
50s.
like 48, 50, yeah.
He was old.
He
He
was
was
old.
old. Um, he did some really bad things that I found out about after he passed away
I'm
to
absolutely
me.
sure.
Anyway, so
And I never went over there with you. Like, I took you to their house and shit, but I never
mhm.
went over there with you. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, I didn't even want to be involved, or they wouldn't let me. I don't even know, like, if it was me or you that kept me from going over there, but it was very much like the place that you hung out, and it was a bunch of old men. And I mean, I liked, dating old men, but I didn't like hanging out in groups of them, I guess.
Well, there were women there too.
Yeah,
I remember Tina, um, and I think about her a
I
lot.
remember you talking
And
about her.
I've heard some things that aren't so great, like sad.
Yeah,
And I don't know what happened to her, and I can't remember her last name. And I tried to reach out to some people to find out what her last name. Now, did she do things that were probably questionable? 100%. I
right.
think a lot of times when you're young and there are older women who no longer have that youngness
Right.
and they see an opportunity to bring this young girl to try and get free drugs,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically like being pimped out.
Yeah,
Although at the
absolutely.
end of this made up transaction, I'm screaming in their face and calling them a dickhead and running out of the house
Correct.
barefoot.
Always.
Always. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, they just want to be my friend.
Mm-hmm.
They just like me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I moved back and you were there. I talked to you immediately. We went out to a bar, right? And then there were some guys, and then they brought us back to their house. And then that was when I relapsed again and you relapsed again. I don't remember how we got the drugs, but I
Yeah, I
remember it
don't
was not a
remember
good
anything.
night.
I was pretty much blackout drunk, and then we were in the living room of my apartment, me, you, and another girl that I didn't know, and we were smoking drugs, and I was like, how did this happen? But in
It's
any
so
case,
crazy.
that
It's
was
like
the last
so
time that
weird.
I did it.
And then, so yeah, like that. So then now, we've shifted. You went your own way and continued to drink. I went my
Yes.
own way and continued to try to find myself. Whenever I was in California, it was almost a done deal that I was going to be on meth, period. End of story. It was only a matter of time.
Right.
And I would always try to go to Chicago and be with my dad. And then my dad and I just had personalities like this. And
Yeah.
so then I remember you came to Chicago and
Mm-hmm.
visited me. I was having a really hard time and I was living with my dad, but I was seeing this guy
Mm-hmm.
who was using heroin. And
Yes.
he had actually introduced me to heroin and I wasn't a fan.
Right.
I've done heroin maybe twice. Uh, I did do some cocaine and I did drink a lot. And I became pregnant and I needed you to come. And I was on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened, while I was on birth control. And I was not ready to have a kid with a heroin addicted, drunk bike messenger father.
Oh
And so
my
I had to keep
goodness.
that also hidden from my dad
Right.
and his wife. And you came and supported me. And I always really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was really difficult for me too because I was very much pro-life at the time. I mean, I still am pro-life, but you were my friend and I loved and supported you. And so I went with you and I remember really struggling with it. But at the same time, for me, like loving a person is more important to me than standing on a value, I guess, for better or for worse. That might be one of my best
Hmm.
and worst traits. But
No, I think honestly it is something that I was certain about. It was the second
yes,
time that I got pregnant and had an abortion that was really hard for me because it was like I don't know like how did this happen because I was also on birth control then. It was like this
right,
dude on heroin had like super sperm. The
right.
fuck? Yeah, I just wasn't going to do it. And our relationship at that point we had already lived together. So I was 20 at this point
Hmm.
when I got pregnant again. And yeah, I couldn't do it. That was a lot harder. That was really depressing, but I just knew it was the right answer and I knew that that was just something that was between me and God.
Yep.
And I thought after that I was never going to get pregnant again because for 10 years after
Right.
that,
Right.
I never did and I wasn't careful
Right.
and I never did. And then it wasn't until and I was with Matt Fu and I remember this so clearly. So I was about 29, 28. We were on a swing set and I was like, I think I want to have a little boy. I just started putting into like because
Yeah.
I'd never talked about having kids before, right?
Mm-mm.
And maybe I might have even been so adamant about not having kids.
Right.
But then something changed, and then within 2 years, or within a year, I got pregnant. And I always thought I wanted to be a boy mom, and I'm just so grateful that I ended up being a girl mom. Like
Yeah.
it
Me
was like
too.
so healing for me. And that was a battle in and of itself. Like I had everybody in my ear telling me I'd be a shit mom and I should have an abortion, including her dad and including, myself.
What made you decide this time to become a mother?
I had actually scheduled several appointments to have an
Hmm.
abortion. And it was getting to the point where it was going to end up being too late. Something would always happen where it wouldn't work out. And then I called my grandparents and I told them, I don't think I can have this kid. I'm not mentally stable enough. And I think I left a message. And then they called me. This was Friday, March 14th of 2014. I remember the day. They called me and they said, Bethany, you absolutely cannot do this. You cannot do it. And they prayed and they told me about how my daughter has fingerprints. God knows every hair on her head and that this is a blessing. And I was like, no, no, I don't want to hear it. I was like crying. I was like, no, but you don't understand. And that very night, and I had an appointment, I think like that Monday or something. And that night, we had a couple friends come over. And I remember we were all just like playing games. And I looked outside and I saw blue lights. And I was like, we have a problem. And these were dealers that were over. But the house, my daughter's dad's house was hot. It was
Yeah.
being watched.
Yeah.
There were a lot of high profile people coming in and out, and he was very sloppy about it.
Right.
And I always used to get on him about it because
Right.
I was actually very smart. Even though I was very smart about like how people like would perceive things. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you gotta go, you gotta go, you can stay, but you're a blow it
Right.
and you're cool, like
Hmm.
you're creating attention. But it wasn't my house. And anyways, the cops came and there was a helicopter
Always
and
helicopters.
they all went to jail except for me.
Mm.
I think my daughter's dad might have taken the wrap for a little rock that was in a little cellophane that was next to the bed because they searched the whole house. And all of a sudden, I was just alone in this house, a two-story house. And I remember being upstairs. I was scrolling, and every single thing in my feed, this is before algorithms and before your phone
Right.
started listening to you.
Right.
There were like these posts about like there are so many parents that can't have kids. Like it was like God literally in my feed, and I was just like crying, and
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, okay? Whether you think I was in a psychosis, whether you think that I was high. But let me tell you, when the cops come, you ain't high anymore,
Hmm.
okay? When the cops come and everybody gets in handcuffs and goes to jail, okay? You're not high anymore. You're like, well, that was a buzzkill. And I'm in this two-story house, a big house, a nice house, alone in bed, and everything on my feed was telling me what a shit person I would be if I had an abortion and what a blessing it is to have a child.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided.
God really wanted you to
And
have that girl.
she saved my life, like 100%
Yeah.
saved my life. And even though it took me a little while to come around, now this isn't a secret, but so I knew it was his, but there was a possibility it could be two other people's.
Mhm.
And one of those other people's, you know him because he was part of that friend group we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
He had a psycho girlfriend,
Mm.
and she stalked me for a year after she found out that he was like a possible
Right.
father. Funny story. He had gone to jail and he reached out to me about 4 or 5 years ago, and the whole time he thought that he was the dad because
Really?
I never got to tell him he wasn't. So
Eek.
he was in jail for
Awkward.
years thinking he had a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Uh,
no, sorry. Anyway, the whole thing was just really scary for me because I didn't know, and I never told her dad that I was 100% sure. But anyway, this lady, and she's a fucking psycho, she called CPS on me after I had already had the baby, and she thought she was gonna destroy my life, and it actually saved my life. So thanks, bitch.
Good.
Because
It's
through
fun how that
that,
happens.
yeah, it's like God turns this evil into a blessing. So
Mhm.
because I never lost my daughter, I was given a great caseworker who
Mhm.
allowed me to go. Basically, I wasn't, she was like, she didn't think I was gonna pee dirty.
Mhm.
I had shown up, I had my baby was well taken care of.
Right.
And it even said in the report, she's clearly a highly functioning addict because she was surprised.
Yeah.
So then I had to meet with the panel and I had to basically say, yes, please, I need help because I almost faked that test.
Yeah.
But God told me not to do that. And so I basically surrendered that day because I didn't want to be in the situation I was in. I was in an
Right.
abusive relationship and my daughter deserved better.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to try.
Right.
And so she just let me go get clean by myself. Like I could have been in flight risk. I mean, I could have just left.
Yeah.
Well, I went and I cleaned up. And even this was people were coming around me.
Mhm.
I was in Riverside
Right.
detoxing, and people were coming around me still using. My friend Dee was like my like au pair during this whole time. Like
Right.
she really helped me. She was also an alcoholic. She's sober now too.
For
So I think, not without some serious physical challenges, but
sure.
I'm proud of her. But yeah, I think far deeper than you. Like I'm talking liquor,
Yeah.
bottles, pints, fifths.
Yeah, and see, I kind of went into the height of my alcoholism once I had kids, and so I could only go so far without just being a total, neglectful mother, and I skated. I skated that line. I was really good at skating.
I think that going through all that stuff and then trying to become an adult and like suddenly figure out how to function when all you've done your entire life is like hustle. I mean, even in Chicago, though, I worked,
Right,
I had jobs. I was a functioning alcoholic in
right.
Chicago.
I was always very high functioning as well.
But then there's those really dark moments. And I'm glad that, I mean, just those people that day could have you could have accidentally hit your head. And then we could have been people who had to either call the cops or hide a body.
Mhm. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And that's kind of the thing is like when I sit there and look back at all of the situations that we put ourselves in, places that we ended up where we were with really dangerous people. Like I
Really
remember a
dangerous
dude
people.
walking around and that's I don't remember where this I think this was when I was dating the guy from the coffee shop because he was like a skinhead and he hung out with scary people. And I remember being at this guy's house and he was walking around in his boxers with a gun in his like waistband and then just like red laced, boots on, and that was it. Just, and he was just walking around like it was the most natural thing in the world. And,
Hmm.
just some freaky people that had some scary habits, scary views, and, just were
I
really
mean, I knew a
like,
guy named Evil.
yeah,
He called himself Evil and Hate. There was a guy named Hate and a guy named Evil.
yeah. I mean, literally, like, we were hanging out with evil. And
And we were hanging out with gangbangers.
yeah, and it's like we had a lot of fun in between, but I think
Hmm.
that sometimes when we think about the fun times, we maybe don't think as much about how much danger we were in. And I know
Oh, well, no, I always think about
I
that.
think about all the time, how I feel like we really were kind of divinely protected because there's just no other explanation for us
There is
getting
none.
out of all of that shit without one of us
There,
dying.
or having a long prison sentence,
Yeah,
or being incredibly disfigured,
right.
or just
Well, I was pretty traumatized.
permanently disabled. No, but I'm saying like there are
Yeah,
people who
that
literally
don't come
just
out of it.
don't come out of
Yeah.
it. So anyway, I just think that for me, I really started thinking differently because it was all fun and games until I became a parent.
Yeah, same. And that's kind of the thing. I also, when I got pregnant and, me and her dad were like, are we going to do this? And I was really controlled about my drinking for a while. Like, I never did drugs again because I wasn't going to do hard drugs. But at the same time, like,
And I
drinking
think
was
I
so
respected that, to be
normalized. Yeah,
fair.
you
When I
did.
came, I may have been like up in the night. So I would come around and I would want to see you and I would want to see the girl. At that point,
And
it was
right.
just,
She was
and
just
I
a
remember
little
her being
baby.
in her diaper, the little baby.
Hmm.
And I remember that little house in Ontario.
I love that little
And
house.
I don't know how much you knew about me. I don't know how much you,
He
oh, well,
definitely
he knew
didn't like
because
you coming around. I mean, yeah, he knew because we relapsed in the living room when he was living with
that's right.
me.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was not a fan. He didn't like anything to do with meth or people that did it or had ever done it, honestly. And it was something he was always kind of suspicious about with me. Not like suspicious, but he was just like, "Is there like a chance of you going back to that? Because that's super not okay with me." So yeah, he was pretty wary of me hanging around you. But yeah, it was usually just you stopping by for 5 minutes, saying hi, giving her a squeeze, and that was about it. So there was definitely like would have been a problem if I was trying to go places with you or spend a
Yeah, but
long
I was never
times.
trying to get you
No,
to do that.
you weren't. We were in
And I
different
think
places
that,
in our life at that point. I was fully fledged into being a mom. For that first year, I was just like, I'm a mom. It's the best thing in my
yeah.
life.
But then when the relationship turns bad,
Right.
that it's such a darkness. I can't imagine because I have never had to because I've never been married.
Right. And so we got married, and I also had a lot of people in my ear who were like, you don't have to marry him. And I'm like, we're having a child together. I love him. Like, we might as well give it a shot. That was my attitude. It's like, I'm stuck with him for the next 18 years anyway. We might as well try to, make it work. And I did have a very traditional family, and I think that played a role. Like, I didn't, with my grandma and my parents, we announced at the same time that I was pregnant and that we were engaged because I didn't want to announce one without the other. I just felt like I would shame my family in this whole thing because it was but even my grandma told me, you don't have to get married. Like, I think everyone kind of knew that it was doomed to fail, that he was just never really in it in the same way that I was. He was just very self-centered. He still is.
I remember
And
that.
yeah,
He
so
was very standoffish and very
fake,
like,
inauthentic.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
he has this idea of who he wants to be and he thinks that he is, and then there's who he actually is, and there's just a disconnect there. And it's really hard. Like, that's really hard to have a relationship with somebody with that inauthenticity. And then I also had an inauthenticity because I also had a person that I wanted to be and that I was trying to be, but I wasn't quite, but I was
You weren't embracing your shadow self.
right. And so it was weird because I was in love with being a mom. I was like, this is my higher calling. I don't know. Like, I don't ever want to be involved in any like bullshit again. Like, I just want to be a mom. And this was the piece that was always missing. And after, I don't know, I want to say at some point, I mean, it was probably closer to when she was like 3 or 4. I mean, I was drinking heavily during that time, but not like I was controlled enough. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have like a huge drinking problem the first few years. But as my relationship with her dad declined, and then we had another child, and it got harder, and I
When did you move to Vegas?
so I moved to Vegas when I was 14 months old. So that would have been in
So that was
2008,
early.
2009. Yeah. I still came back
Hmm.
a lot though because my parents still lived in Upland, and so I came back to
Yeah.
Upland quite a bit. I worked for a company in Upland for many years too after I
Did
moved.
we
I'm not sure if we ever met up when I
see each other?
visited or not.
I
That's what
don't
I
think
feel
so.
like there was the
I
time.
had to change. I have changed my number, I think, quite a few times. Like
Yeah.
I had
We
situations
lost
where I
touch for
lost
several
everything.
years, and
Hmm.
that's what I remember you kind of popping up after you had, and then I was like, "Oh." And that was kind of when we started talking again was after you had a child, and then we came and visited you in Utah
Hmm.
5 years ago, maybe now. Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago.
I remember that. Okay. So I remember you and your last ex
Hmm.
coming, and we went to the Evermore.
Yes. Super fun.
And that was really fun. Yeah. I do remember that. But yeah, so like you had said something about you not even knowing that I was pregnant until after. Yeah, so there was a long period of time where we just did not talk. But yeah, so then you moved to Vegas and then you came and visited and I appreciated that very much. And so my ex who was living with me at the time, we went to you. Oh, we visited you because we were doing one of those timeshare things.
Yes, that's what it was.
And so that was the first time that I had actually met your new husband, or at that time I don't think you were married.
Right.
You weren't. And then I came and visited more often. Um, I think there were two times. One when I was driving to Arizona
Hmm.
to visit my grandma. I came and stayed the night with you. Was it the time that, oh yeah, we went to the museum, Zach Bagans Museum.
Yeah. When was that?
Did
Was
you
that
forget
that
about that?
time? Well, I remember going to Zach
That was with
Bagans
my ex.
because that's what I was gonna say. I remember going to Zach Bagans. I just didn't. So that was the time you were
Yeah,
coming for the timeshare.
because so my daughter, I'm trying to connect dots here.
Right.
Almost not for the first time, but for the first time in
First
a
in a
long
long time.
time.
Yeah.
And now that we're middle aged,
Hmm. Those memories are starting to get real fuzzy.
yeah,
And
just
it's a
please
good
kill
thing.
me
I
if I
mean,
start getting dementia.
well, and honestly, I'm glad that I don't vividly remember these things anymore.
Hmm.
It's more of just a wow, I can't believe that crazy shit happened, but it's not like something that haunts me every day, which I'm grateful for. But
Things don't haunt me every day, but there are times where I remember, like, holy fuck. And, like, Karen, there are things that are impossible for any of my friends to really know,
yeah,
right? Because I, I can't tell you everything that's happened to me because it is a never-ending Rolodex
yeah.
of crazy shit that you
Well,
could
it's
not make up. You've seen it.
I've seen it in real time, like days where you were in 7 different places in Southern California with 7 different people. And so, yeah, like I know that every day was like that for you for years. So, yeah, I can only imagine. And I think the thing that I really like, I was kind of addicted to chaos in my own life, but in a different way. But I remember at some point you saying that you didn't feel like yourself because things are just like so chill and calm. And I can only imagine when you lived in that much chaos that it took some time of adjustment to settle down and not be living in that chaos because you're so
Oh
used
yeah,
to it. That's your normal. So everything else
that was
feels like
100%
you're
my
sitting
normal.
still.
That was why I did seek out risky behavior and risky
Yeah.
situations just to kind of test my mortality.
Yeah, like my older daughter's like an adrenaline junkie from, trying not to use drugs and stuff like that, but she's just addicted to that rush of doing something you're not supposed to do and stuff. She likes roller coasters and zip lining and shit like that. Driving too
Bungee
fast,
jumping.
to my dismay. I don't think she's gone bungee jumping, but I don't know if she would. She
Don't
probably would.
suggest it.
I won't.
Um, but yeah, so and that's why I really do think that I think that for us, especially as women, especially, the nature of some of the drugs involved. I mean, meth at its very core is a stimulant.
Right,
So think about sexually stimulating men, and
right,
they're constantly in
right.
that state. And then you have a pretty young girl who is like, you know, big blue eyes, wide open with big black pupils and like just wanting to be friends with everyone. And I think though what I do think that my eyes have saved me because I don't think they really knew what would happen if they did what they were thinking about doing because my eyes were so fucking
Your
nuts.
eyes were nuts.
Like I'd be like, "What?"
Hmm.
Right now I look kind of silly, but because I'm not really in that
You're
mood, but
not
I
that, yeah.
really did.
I
I'm
can
not that
still
person,
see
but
it. I
I
can still see the eyes. You just didn't really know what was going to happen next.
nope. And I was like, "Okay, come on, let's go. Let's go. I know somewhere we can go." Then just I could get whatever I wanted. I felt like I
You
felt
had
like I
way too
had
much power. We
I
all
did,
gave
and
you
that was
way too
what
much power.
you did. And I was not humbled.
No,
Not then. No, I really was just like on just like I just wanted to I don't know. I don't know, man. But there's a lot of people I still talk to. I really I love that. I love that I still get to call you my friend and that we can talk about these things. I think it's almost therapeutic to talk about these things. Um and because a lot of the time you can think about these situations and be like, did that really happen that way? But
yes.
so many times I had a witness.
No, I do
And
the
a lot
same
of
thing. I
times,
go, "It happened? Was my life really that crazy?" It
yeah, and it was.
was.
It absolutely was. And I'm sure there's more that we can't even remember.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember going
in
to a
some,
hotel out in Orange County. I don't even know why. And I have pictures from that. When we went to that hotel with some guy, I don't
I
remember
just
who the
talked about
hell
that
it
picture
was.
today. His name was,
Yeah.
I know his name. I
Okay.
think he passed away too,
Okay.
but
He
his
was
name was
also a lot
Ken.
older.
He
Okay.
was way older and he did want me.
Yeah.
And he ended up purchasing the train ticket to South Carolina.
Yes. Oh my gosh, South Carolina. Forgot about that
Remember when
whole
I met
thing
that guy
too.
online?
Yes. Yes. And you
Hmm.
really took the train out there.
I took the train out
How long
there,
did that
and then
last?
I was out there for like 2 weeks, and he got me on video, and he was a predator.
Mhm. Yeah.
I really want to do just like an outing of like all the bad people,
Yeah.
but yeah, I slapped him at a Waffle House.
That's fantastic.
He called me a whore, and I slapped him in the face at a Waffle House, and ran away and hid all night, and they were looking for me all night, and I was hiding in his Bronco,
That shit
and
just
then
happens at the Waffle House. Like, that's the funniest part of it. Because you weren't even from there and you did that at a Waffle House. That's great. I love
I
that.
just didn't respect any of these dudes.
No.
Like if they were trying to come at me, like
Yeah.
I don't think you know who you're fucking with.
Yeah.
That's my attitude.
Right.
I didn't give a fuck.
No.
And like looking back, I know that the guys that have hit me or choked me or whatever had to have had some kind of restraint because if they were going to go full force, I would have been knocked the fuck out.
Right. Right.
But I didn't give a shit. I would punch on them. I would fucking whip out
Yeah.
like straight up,
Yeah.
like
You were a little
gangster,
powder
like
keg.
oh my God. I was squirrely too.
Yeah.
So, but I think that they either it was God or it was just some other force that was telling them like, hey, you don't know what's going to come after you or what's going to happen with this bitch.
Right.
So you just don't know. She might stab you.
Right.
Somebody might come looking for her. Although one of my friends did tell me I would have been a perfect serial killer victim because nobody knew where I was at any given time, and
Right.
that was normal.
I thought you were going to say that you would have been a perfect serial killer. It's like, I guess I could see that too. Because nobody ever knew where you were, where you would be.
Yes, and this was the time before cell phones, folks.
Yes,
But do you think we should wrap it up?
I do. My tailbone hurts. I can't stay here anymore.
Okay. I think that that was a good reminiscing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
hopefully this, I don't really know what the whole point of this would be for the audience other than just to get to know us
yeah.
a little bit and what we've gone through and look at us now.
Right,
We're on a podcast
right,
and we can speak full sentences and we're, living our best lives essentially as best as they can be.
right. And that's why I think in future episodes we can kind of go into the struggle once we got sober and, the struggles we've gone through as adults, um, who have been addicted to stuff our whole lives. Because, man, it's hard. Adulting is hard.
You're so pretty though.
You too. It's
You
fun
really
looking
are.
at
I've
your
always had kind of like
face.
a girl crush
You have a
on
girl
you.
crush on me?
I love you
Love
and
you
thank you
too.
for being on. Everybody stay tuned because we're just gonna riff it. I don't think we're gonna have any real outline. We'll just talk about,
The good, the
chapter
bad, and
two.
the
And then
ugly.
I think it's a bad, then we're gonna go through the ugly and then we're gonna go to the good.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.
Okay, but stay on. Hold on. I don't know what I'm doing.